The NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by fans. Sign up with the promo code MBSGN, get a $1,000 bonus credit. And welcome, everybody, to the NBA Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is currently Saturday night, April 12th, roughly 10 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm your host, episode Scott Reichel, joined again by Lonte Smith. Together, we're going to break down the final game, or the final day of the regular season, game 82. So we're going to break down some of the games on the card. I know initially we thought about doing all of the games. Unfortunately, though, lines took a bit too long to be released, not to mention the fact with half the teams, if not more, to be honest, like 90% of the teams playing for nothing. We don't really know who's playing in any of these games, so we decided to skip the games that are irrelevant towards playoff seeding. Instead, we are going to be focusing on 4 games on the card instead. So for the 4 games that actually matter, we have the Grizzlies against the Mavericks, we have the Jazz against the Timberwolves, the Clippers against the Warriors, and the Suns against the Kings. Those are the 4 games we're going to talk about on the show. But Lonte, I introduced before. Lonte, how's it going with you? Feels a bit weird doing a weekend show, doesn't it?
Yeah, pretty good, man. But I'm glad that this is almost over, man. We can get to some real playoff basketball. The last week or two, well, I will say the last week or two of the season, being that the play-in has been, since the play-in has been implemented, has been a lot more interesting versus like us having to do this for like a month straight with all the teams being on tape mode. You know what I'm saying? So that's been better. But yeah, man, I'm ready to get this over with and get to the playoff basketball.
Yeah, I do want to point out, though, that for the last episode, we did hit an abridged underdog entry. We did end up getting a void with Halliburton, but we got Filipowski higher points right, and we got Edey higher PR right. So definitely a good episode for us. I know I hit the lock with the Warriors to cover. Fun fact, by the way, we had that many double-digit favorites on the card on Friday. Do you want to guess how those double-digit favorites did ATS?
Well, I can't lie. I cheated. I saw your tweet, so I know it's
Okay.
going to be all of them. Yeah.
Yes. The answer is 8-0 or 9-0, depending on how you factor in the Thunder, because the Thunder were double-digit favorites. They closed at around 9.5. If you blindly parlayed every team with motivation, or every team that was laying double digits, you could retire for about a week or two, go on a nice vacation, because double-digit favorites went 8-0-9-0 if you include the Thunder. So they covered every game. It was extremely boring if you are a fan of basketball, because every team that was supposed to win ended up winning. Unless you argue the Knicks, but honestly, who knows what they were really trying to do.
Yeah, a lot of those teams blew games too. Charlotte was up like 9 or 10 on the Boston. I think the Knicks were dominating. They got let back. That was a ton.
Well, the Knicks game was also weird because Cat didn't play, and then it didn't matter anyway because Indiana lost too. So like both teams didn't really care. It was kind of weird. But the teams that actually had to win, mostly in the Western Conference for seeding, just dominated. Yeah. And that's kind of how it went. So once again, hopefully the games are more competitive on Sunday. But of course, we are only going to be covering the 4 games that should be at least competitive in terms of effort for both teams. We'll see what happens there. But if you're looking for breakdowns on Peyton Pritchard game 82, or Alfred Payton is not going to be talked about in this episode, so apologies there if you're looking for some game 82 guys. Shout out to Cam Whitmore, though, who had a solid game against the Lakers with 30 plus.
Jay Will with the triple-double. You called
that too, which I called. That was plus 470, though. I hated the odds on that, but he got there. But yeah, overall, pretty weird Friday night card, pretty boring. All the expected teams won. But once again, if you ended up backing the underdog entry, you made some money. Anyway, before we get into the actual breakdown of the 4 games we're going to talk about in a second, quick reminder that we do have an app for all the SGPN picks and podcasts in one location. Download the SGPN app for you to get your podcasts. And a reminder, by the way, a new reminder, Lonte, I'm going to put you on the spot. This is a big episode for us. Do you want to guess what number episode we're up to?
600?
We're up to 900.
Damn, I'm way off.
I know. You might have joined us when we were like already.
Yeah, probably did. I probably did.
The point is, we're on episode 900 of the podcast. So because of that, we're doing a giveaway. So if you do want to get entered into the giveaway, we're giving away a $100 SGPN gift card to the merch store. All you have to do is leave a rating and a review on Spotify or Apple. And don't forget to send a screenshot of that. You can send it to me on Twitter at Reichel Radio in my DMs, and you'll be entered into the random drawing. I'll do a random number generator, and whichever person pops up ends up winning. But once again, a free $100 gift card draw if you want to enter it. Don't forget to leave a rating interview on Spotify or Apple, and don't forget to send me a screenshot to be entered into the contest. Anyway, time to get into the actual card for the abridged slate that we're going to talk about here on Sunday. Starting off with the first game, you have the Mavericks against the Grizzlies. Now, this line has been all over the place, so right now I have 8 listed. Might not be there for that much longer, but that's what I have right now. And the over-under's at 231.5. Now, for the actual seeding, which I'll mention in a second, for the Eastern Conference, we have nothing to talk about. All 10 seeds are decided already. So it makes no difference at all. We're only going to be talking about West Coast teams for the sake of this episode. So if you're looking for some Eastern Conference conversations, we're not going to have any of them. Now, for the West Coast and for the Western Conference, the top 3 seeds are determined. We have the Thunder at the 1, the Rockets at the 2, and the Lakers at the 3. However, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and 9 and 10 technically, are still up for grabs. So 4 to 8 can definitely be interchangeable. 9 and 10 are a separate category, but in theory, the Kings can lose home court in the play-in game against Dallas. So that's what's going to matter. Basically, all those teams in the 4 through 8 need to win. 9 and 10, they're guaranteed to play against each other, but you can determine who's going to get home court, depending on if the Kings win or lose their regular season finale. So, for the Mavericks and for the Grizzlies, both teams are competing for different reasons. Mavericks want to try to pass the Kings. We'll see if the Kings lose to the Suns, because the Mavericks need that to happen and they need to win. So they're less motivated in theory than Memphis. Memphis is in just an absolute, I can't even describe what type of form they're in. They're in free fall, I guess. If that's the way you want to describe them. They had a decent showing for a couple games in the middle there, and then immediately regressed back to being awful defensively. But right now, the Grizzlies are in the 8th spot. They can, in theory, catch up to Minnesota or Golden State, who are currently a game ahead of them. But it's not looking that great. But Minnesota will be in the 7-8 game, most likely, barring some collapses by Minnesota and by the Warriors. So I'm going to ask you, with Memphis laying 8, we saw AD had a triple-double over the weekend. It was one of the first ones of his career. He's had a couple. I think it was his third, But for this game, we know Dallas is very injured. They got some guys back, but Kyrie's still out for the season. What do you want to take in this game?
Yeah, I was open at 5.5. I like that number a lot better than I do 8. But I'll take the Grizzlies early here, first quarter, first half. I mean, they pretty much were dominant in Denver into that last fourth quarter. They went 7 minutes without scoring, which was atrocious. They're still adjusting to not having Jalen Wills, and it's really causing them to shift around their defensive philosophies because he was their stopper. So they're relying a lot more on Bane, who's an okay defender, but I mean, it's taken away from his offense as well. So he's kind of got to do both when Jalen Wills was there to fill that void. But I do like the Grizzlies at home. The number is probably right there what I would make it. That's why the 5.5 was a lot more intriguing. But I think they can match up well with the Mavericks. I mean, the Mavericks aren't overly they're not overly reliant on a 3-point shot. I mean, Clay's pretty much been a shell of himself. Mm-hmm. Their backcourt, I think, can be taken advantage of by the Grizzlies. So I'm going to go with the Grizzlies here. I'll lay the 8, but one of my favorite plays is going to be the Grizz first quarter, first half in this game.
Yeah, I do want to point out, by the way, that according to some recent reports, Anthony Davis will be out for this game. So it does seem like the Mavericks are
I'll lay the 8 for sure.
Yeah. So just waiting for the Kings, I guess, to beat the Suns. But AD is not going to be playing after he had the triple-double on Friday. So does that change anything about the handicap for the total?
Yeah, I'll lay the 8. No, AD, I'll lay the 8.
I think I'm on the same page as you. I'm just wondering how Dallas is supposed to really get many easy buckets with this team. You're going to rely on Dinwiddie and Klay Thompson's, shell of his former self just carrying you offensively. Maybe Najee Marshall. I don't know if there's anybody I actually trust on this Dallas team. But no AD is a big deal because you can throw in a bunch of different bodies for Memphis in terms of front court depth. And Dallas has nobody. I mean, you're going to throw in a little bit of Lively, some Gafford in there. Maybe we'll see if Dallas sits more guys. But it does seem like Memphis is treating this game more seriously than Dallas is. We've seen Dallas play without AD recently. It has not been good at all. So I'll take Memphis at home in a game they need to have. I think they could score more easily. I think that they have more depth. And I think AD can also plug a lot of holes defensively for Dallas's, I'd say, lack of quality perimeter defense. So I'll go with the Grizzlies minus the 8. For the total, I maybe Memphis team total over. Just pick them to smack this team. But with no AD, I really just can't take Dallas.
Yeah, I agree with that. Team total over.
Yeah. I see Chad mentioning the line is actually at 4.5 on FanDuel. Said before when I started, I saw a bunch of different books were all over the place of 4 lines, so something to keep in mind.
Yeah, find the best one.
Let me just see if I actually do see 4.5. Okay, so hang on a second. Let me just adjust some stuff here. I got to check up the injury report to see if anybody on Memphis is sitting. I doubt it because I don't know how they can afford to sit anybody
for
this game.
Yeah, they can't.
But AD is officially sitting, so something to keep in mind. 4.5 feels very short.
That's short.
Okay, so Ja's doubtful for this game.
Oh, okay.
Bane is also questionable, and Jaren Jackson Jr. is also doubtful. So, yeah, this game's allegedly supposed to matter. What the hell are we doing?
Yeah, what the hell is doing? What the
I
hell
don't
is
know.
going
Both
on?
teams are not playing, basically. So it's 4.5 apparently because half the teams or half the star players are sitting in this game. I'm still taking Memphis. I like their depth more than Dallas, but yeah, my bad. I thought more guys were playing, and apparently they're not. So unfortunately, not a great start to the games that still allegedly matter because both these teams seem to not really care. But anyway, we'll go with Memphis at a 4.5, and we'll go with I'll go with Dallas team total under though in this matchup. Moving on. I see Adam mentioning what happens if Memphis loses. If Memphis loses, they are exactly where they are currently positioned. They will be in the 8 seed spot, and they will be on the road in a play-in game. But they do get two shots automatically and making it into the bracket because they'll be in the 7-8 game, and then they'll be in the game against the winner of the 9-10. So they are not in single elimination territory, but right now they are not in the actual bracket. So something to keep in mind there. Anyway, moving on to games, hopefully with teams that try. At least one team that's going to try. You have the Jazz. It's not them. Against Minnesota. Minnesota's laying 21.5. For the over-under, 231.5. Now, for the actual standings for the Western Conference, Minnesota is currently tied with Golden State for the 6th spot. However, Golden State does have the tiebreaker. But Golden State does play the Clippers in the last game of the season. We'll get into that in a second. So the Warriors might lose that last game. And if Minnesota wins and Golden State loses, suddenly Minnesota is out of the play-in game. So a very important game, not to mention the fact Minnesota is right now in, of course, the 7. And they were going to be without Anthony Edwards, though, because he got suspended for about, 5 minutes. Because he got a technical foul against the Nets, which would have been his 18th, which would have been grounds for suspension. But the league realized we got to sell tickets somehow, and his suspension got revoked, and his technical foul got rescinded. So now Anthony Edwards will be playing in this game. I'm assuming everyone's going to play for Minnesota because you have to win this game. You don't have a choice. And as for Utah, the team sucked anyway, but who cares? Who cares, man? I mean, right now they're tied with the Wizards, I believe, for the worst for the worst record in the league. They're tied with, one of those teams. It really doesn't matter for Utah because of the new draft format with the lottery, how 14%. The bottom 3 teams get the same percentage. Mm-hmm. So it really doesn't matter at all. But the argument is Utah's been bad anyway, and they're probably going to roll over and die in their last game of the season. I'll ask you, though, with Ant playing with Minnesota, winning against the Nets by about 27. Wasn't easy, though, for about 2 quarters or so. Then they blew the game open. But I want to ask you, do you want to lay 21.5 or do you prefer the total in this game?
Yeah, I prefer the team total over, but I would lay the 21.5. I mean, the Jazz aren't playing anybody. Minnesota should be amped up to get this win and get it out the way because they can move up to 6, right? They can move up to 6 with the win.
For Memphis,
if Golden State loses.
If Golden State loses, they move up to the 6.
Yeah. So then again, I mean, it's kind of hard to do the matchup hunting at the bottom because you do get 2 cracks at it, but again, I would think they would want to face I would think they want to be the 7 seed. I think that's where everybody's trying to jockey to get to is the 7 seed to get Houston and stay away from OKC. I mean, that is the most logical thing. But it's kind of hard to do that when you don't know your opponent and, you got 2 cracks at it. But again, you don't want to lose the first one and then kind of it's all different types of things that you can't really control. Therefore, I think Minnesota goes in full speed. I think they bury the Jazz. First quarter, first half, full game. I think they completely blast them. Team total over. I would parlay this team total over with Memphis' team total over as well.
Yeah, so to get into the actual head-to-head history, they faced off 3 times this season. Utah did win one of those games They won the second home game back in late February, but the Timberwolves did win the first game and the third game by at least 25 points. So Minnesota has covered the spread in 2 of the 3 meetings. They're trying. Utah's not. I'm not even sure if we're going to end up seeing, like, I'm trying to think of who on Utah would even be likely to play in this game. Is Sexton going to play? Probably not. Laurie's not going to play. Kessler's not going to play. Collins is not going to play. Do you think we see any of the original backcourt for Utah in this game?
I don't think so. I think
or is
all
it the Johnny
G
Juzang
League
show?
guys. All G League guys.
It might be the Johnny Juzang show. So we'll see what happens. Filipowski,
I like Johnny
maybe.
Juzang.
Is Filipowski too good to play in this game? He might
Yes,
be.
he is. Yeah,
he might be.
Is.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But you're looking at what this team has done this season, and of course they have been losing. But Collier might not play. Who knows? I think Minnesota smacks this team. Give me Minnesota by 30 in this game. For the total, Minnesota team total over. I mean, Utah doesn't guard anybody, even when everyone was playing. So I don't mind the over for the Timberwolves as well, but I'll go with the Timberwolves to cover the spread in this one. Anyway, that is going to do it for the first 2 games on the card. Time to remind everybody once again that we are brought to you by our sponsor, EdgeBoost. If you do want to try to get some money from your bank account at 2 a.m. and you've had your deposit blocked, that's definitely annoying. But that will not happen with the EdgeBoost card because you can use EdgeBoost to have your back. It's the first ever bank account built for bettors. They give you fast, reliable access to your funds, make it easy to move money where and when you need it. You can also do it without the delays that come with traditional banks. You can also get cash rewards every time you deposit into a qualified gambling account. You can earn 0.5% of cash rewards. All this for no usage fees and no minimum balance. And a reminder, they also have a ton of responsible gambling tools to help you manage your bankroll, make informed decisions. What are you waiting for? Go to edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN, edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. Sign up for the EdgeBoost card today. We're also brought to you by mybookie.ag because MyBookie is the place in every sport. You can bet on golf if you want to bet on the Masters. Maybe you want to fade Rory on Sunday. Who knows? You can also bet on props in every game. They have cuts for a ton of locations. You can also use crypto for Lightning Fast payouts and easy deposits. You can also head to mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast. Finished going through the first 2 games on the card. Time to move on into, you know what? I'll actually save that game for last. We'll do the Suns game against the Kings next because there is one game that everyone's interested in, and we'll save that one for last. For this game, Suns are playing for nothing. You could argue half the team's in Cancun already. Durant might have booked his flights already. Who knows? However, they did beat the Spurs in their last game pretty handily. As for the Kings, they barely lost to the Clippers. It was a pretty close rock fight, but you saw the Clippers outlast them barely at the end, as the Kings now have a chance to pass the Mavericks. In fact, a decent chance. Actually, no, they're ahead of the Mavericks already. So if Dallas loses, it doesn't matter. But if the Kings win, it doesn't matter anyway. So we'll see what happens. But for the sake of the actual timing of these games, this game's taking place at the same time as the Dallas game. So you're looking at a spot where Dallas kind of conceded the 9 seed already because they're benching Anthony Davis. But then again, the Grizzlies are benching half their guys, so you can argue that Dallas has a shot to win the game. Kings, though, are laying 13.5. They're probably using a lot of guys, but do I think this team's good? No. So when it comes to laying double digits, I feel better about some teams as opposed to others.
Yeah.
I'm not laying 13.5 for
me
Sacramento, so I'll take the Suns.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Suns as well. This could be one of those games like we saw with Denver down the stretch against the Spurs. Remember that game that kind of shifted the standings?
Yeah.
I think the Suns can be competitive here. Like I said, they don't have the Suns have some decent wing defenders, Iguodala, Ryan Dunn. Those guys can guard, and the Kings are more wing heavy with DeRozan and Zach LaVine. So they don't really have a point guard, which could cause some issues here with the Suns, like ball pressure. So I think the Suns can hang here, man. So I'm going to take the 13.5. I think those young guys will be playing hard. I mean, it doesn't really matter to them. It's not like they're in the lottery or, winning is not going to do anything to their future or anything. So I think they'll be competitive here. I think they maybe have a shot to win outright.
Yeah, I do want to point out that Booker was pulled early last game. They were up by a ton against San Antonio, so there is a chance Booker maybe only plays 3 quarters in this game, which could be a possibility. But I like the over in this game. I don't trust either team to guard anybody. The Kings had a good defensive game against the Clippers, and they still lost. But the Suns, we know defensively, have been a lost cause basically all season. Did a good job against San Antonio. Before that, they'll give up 125 to OKC. 133 to Golden State, 123 to Boston. Not playing good defense. I'll go with the over in this game. If the Suns actually no-show it and they end up getting blown out, the Kings might score 135. So I'll go with the over in this game. I think that is my favorite option for this matchup. Moving on to the final game of the card, the main attraction of the actual card on Sunday, the Clippers against the Warriors. Now, for the updated standings for these teams, both teams are trying to avoid the play-in. Clippers right now are the 5 seed. You're looking at the Warriors being the 6, and Minnesota is currently in the 7. Minnesota's 1 game behind the Clippers, and they are tied with Golden State. So both teams need to win. Now, Golden State beat the Trailblazers and covered. Curry, though, did injure his thumb midway through the first half, came back, didn't really do much because the Warriors blew the game open when he was on the bench, and they ended up not bringing him back in for any point of the fourth quarter. We'll see how healthy Curry is, but I am going to point out his thumb was bothering him, went back to the locker room, didn't really play that much. On the other hand, the Clippers had an absolute war against the Kings, which they barely survived in. Harden turned it over on the inbound, and then you saw DeRozan try to split a double team with no dribble, and he ended up breaking a jump shot to lose the game. But the Warriors are laying 2.5 at home, totals at 217.5, pointing out the head-to-head for these two teams. Clippers have been pretty feisty against the Warriors. In fact, they're 3-0. They've won all 3 games by at least 3 points. They've won 2 of the 3 by at least 8 points, and every meeting has finished below 217. Each of the last 2 meetings finished below 202. So I'm going to ask you, playoff type atmosphere. I know I like the under in this game, but I'll ask you, what do you like in this game?
I love the under. I love the Clippers. As a Lakers fan, I'm hoping that the Lakers get the Warriors in the first round. I know a lot of other Laker fans don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I think a lot of other Laker fans don't want to see Steph, but I think that it'll be. I mean, I'm not going to say easy, but I think it'll be like a nice 4-2 series for the Lakers. I just think that. I mean, I don't want to go on a tangent, but I just don't think that's the right matchup for the Warriors. But yeah, I like the Clippers in this spot. I think they're the better team. I think been better all year. Well, whenever Kawhi's been healthy, and as far as over the past 2 months, they've been the better team. Despite the Warriors having maybe a better record, but it's kind of depends on how you look at it from what prism you look at it under. Because when Kawhi's playing and they're fully healthy, they have a really really good record. Same with the Warriors, kind of guys in and out of the lineup. But I think the Clippers are the better team right now. I think we see a playoff type atmosphere, so expect a ton of half court sets, not a lot of running. Clippers want to play in the half court anyway. I think their half court offense is really good. They have the wing players to kind of run at Steph. I'm not really worried about Jimmy. I think Kawhi will pretty much cancel him out. And once you X out one, and then you got to deal with, you just force those other guys to beat you. So you're going to force Paz, you're going to force Draymond, Kuminga, and all those guys to kind of beat you. And I think the Clippers' ancillary pieces are a lot better than what the Warriors have. The Warriors don't have an answer for Zubac either. I think Zubac's going to have a humongous game. I was expecting him to have like 20 and 15 with no requisite center pieces or depth. I mean, Post and Looney are okay, but I don't think they can contend with what Zubac.
I expect to see more Looney in this game personally. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's what I expect too. So I'll take the Clippers here. I'll take the 2.5. I like the under as well.
Yeah, if you want to hear a quick joke, do you want to guess how many players Golden State used in that last game against Portland?
11.
16.
Damn.
They used 16 players, which might be a new record. I thought the maximum on your roster allowed was 15. So I don't know how they got 16, but apparently 16 guys played at least 1 minute in that game.
And
I watched a lot of that game because I had money on Golden State, and Golden State covered. They didn't look good. Curry got injured, so I recognized that they were a bit shorthanded. I just wasn't that impressed. Defensively, they were fine, but Portland had no talent at all to score the basketball, so I wasn't going to read too much into it. The Clippers didn't look great against Sacramento, but at least Sacramento's a play-in team that's playing postseason basketball. I think the Clippers right now are the better team. They're on the longest win streak in the league. They've won 7 straight. Yes, they were 3-0 against Golden State this season. I will point out that every meeting, I believe, happened before the Butler deal, so that is a little bit skewed. But the Warriors have been a bit choppy lately. I mean, the Warriors, if you look at their last couple games, they are currently 2-2. And they lost to the Rockets and they lost to the Spurs. So I do think the Clippers are right now the better team. I think they're deeper offensively when you're looking at all the options they have. Bogdanovich has been a good signing or a good trade for them. We know Powell's been very good. We know Harden's been great. Kawhi's been great. Zubac has been fantastic too. I like their options. Even Chris Dunn defensively, you throw him on Steph for a bit and you see what happens. They got Coffee off the bench. They got a lot of guys who I like. And I feel like the Warriors, I know it's been working out well for them recently. They really need Podziemski to play well. And when Podziemski's off, they have problems because they don't have a lot of great scoring depth options. They have some guys who could step up, Post sometimes, Moody sometimes, but mainly you're relying on Curry, Butler, and Podziemski, maybe a little bit of Kuminga in there. I just think the Clippers have more options, and I do think the Clippers are a bad matchup for Golden State because of Zubac on the interior. I think Zubac is a bad matchup personally. Golden State, you can argue, in hindsight, in the grand scheme of things, maybe they want to play Houston instead of the Lakers, but I don't think they're going to intentionally punt this game to be in a play-in. I'm not saying that, but I think Golden State, if they lose this game, it's not the end of the world because I think they might be favored over Houston in the playoff series anyway. But I do think that the Warriors need 3 guys to cook, and it feels like the Clippers have more guys that can step up if one of the main guys doesn't contribute. So I'll take the Clippers in this one. I think it'll be a low-scoring game, though. I do like the under. I think it's a playoff atmosphere, must-win game for both teams. Trying to avoid the play-in. I think they play like it. Give me the under. I think first team to 105 wins, and we'll go from there. So give me the under. But Curry also having a messed-up thumb doesn't really instill much confidence in me that the Warriors are going to have their best A-game offensively here. And if Curry's off, they're usually done for. Absolutely. So I'll go with the Clippers, once again, at plus money, and I am going to go with the under in this one. Anything else you want to add for this game? Maybe a player prop or something?
Zubac, PR, love that over.
Yeah, I agree. I think that at the end of the day, I would be maybe considering a Draymond under for points because Zubac's going to be in the paint, and we know Draymond can't really shoot. So I can see Draymond deferring a lot. I think Butler and Curry are going to try to take over what's supposed to be a playoff game, basically. Draymond, we know in these spots, a lot of dribble handoffs, a lot of moving screens, and then a lot of running away from the basket. Is that fair?
Yeah, so, definitely. Maybe look at his rebounds and assists over and points under.
I mean, I guess the question here, though, is since it is such a meaningful game for these teams, are you expecting a playoff-type workload for these guys where Curry, Podziemski, Butler, and Draymond, barring foul trouble, are in there for 38-plus minutes?
Yeah, I am. I mean, depending upon, how, like you said it in your handicap earlier, like depending on what they want, you know what I'm saying? But I expect them to come in guns blazing. I don't expect a lot of bench production. I mean, they don't have a ton of bench. I mean, decent, but guys that they trust.
Starts now. It's mostly. I mean, Moody also starts sometimes too.
Yeah, so
their bench is basically Kuminga. I mean, it's Kuminga at this point, basically.
Yeah, so yeah, I expect those guys to play a heavy workload.
So do I. And the same thing with the Clippers. So I see a lot of minutes for these guys. So I'll go with an ugly, low-scoring playoff game, basically. Give me Clippers 105, Warriors 101.
Yeah.
That's kind of my thoughts for that game. Anyway, that is going to wrap it up for the 4 games that actually matter on the card. Apologies that it turns out it was 3 games because the Dallas and Memphis game turned out to be an absolute circus where neither team's actually trying, apparently, which sucks. But either way, that's going to wrap it up for the 4 games on the card that we're going to talk about. Now it's time for the actual lock and dog plays. Before we get to that, though, quick reminder that we are brought to you by Underdog Fantasy because you can play their pick'em contest for a chance to win 100 times your money. You can also use different sports, NBA, NHL, UFC. You can use even tennis if you want to. Sign up, though, for a new account with the promo code SGPN to go on special first time visit offer up to 1K bonus cash and fancy promo code NBA SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm, because they are the home of AI-backed picks and props. They're also live for Major League Baseball. They have models on NBA and golf, picks that are so good it feels like cheating. You can also build your own model, which is simple and easy to do. You can also capitalize on one of the 2 promo codes that Rhythm has. They have a monthly promo code and a yearly promo code for a discount. 25% off monthly subscriptions with the promo code SGPN25 and a 50% off annual subscription with the promo code SGPN50. That's RETHMM, promo code SGPN25 or SGPN50. Welcome back, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast. Went through all 4 games that allegedly matter on the card on Sunday. Now it's time for the lock and dog plays. Lonte, I'm going to let you go first. What are your lock and dog picks for the card? You can, if you want to, go off the board and take one of the games between 2 teams that don't care.
Yeah, I'm gonna let's lock up the Phoenix Suns. I see that number is running away too. It's like 15.5 right now. So I'll take.
You can honestly wait until closer to game time. You don't have to take this now.
Yeah, but I'll take the Suns. I mean, just if we want it for grading purposes or whatever, I'll just take the Suns plus the double digits, whatever it is. I think they can be feisty here. I mean, I really don't trust the Kings. They don't have a ton of depth, don't have a ton of guards. I think the Suns will be. I think the Suns' younger guys will be ready to play. So that's a big number for them to be laying. So I'm going to take the Suns plus the points there. And as a dog, I mean, I'm just going to take something we both agreed on. I'm going to take the Clippers.
Yeah, Clippers right now I see around plus 110, give or take.
Yeah, I mean that's fine.
Yeah, so for my lock, I'll go with the Clippers and Warriors game under 217.5. I think it's too high. I know it was before the Butler trade, but all 3 meetings this season did finish below 217. I see a very physical grind at out battle between 2 teams and basically a playoff game. I think it's going to be low scoring. I mean, the Warriors have allowed less than 107 in, I believe, 4 of their last 5. Could have been more than that. But they've been great defensively. Clippers have been good defensively too. I think it'll be in the half court the entire game. I see both teams being very sharp defensively. Maybe nerves playing a factor. And I think the fourth quarter might be disgusting. You have a bunch of fatigue probably with a bunch of guys playing 38 minutes or so. You might see people running on fumes in the fourth quarter. So I'm going to go with the under 217.5 as my, I'd say, lock on the show at minus 110. For my dog, I might actually go off the board. I might go with a matchup that really does not matter if I can find a line on it. All right, so let me actually think about this for a second. Detroit's favored by 7.5. Thunder are going to kill the Pelicans. Spurs against the Raptors. So the Raptors might be able to actually win that one. All right, so for my dog, give me the Cavaliers. I'll take them plus 4.5 as right now the spread. The money line's plus 155. I'm fine with it. Both teams could not care less. Indiana benched Halliburton last game. They're guaranteed into the seeding. The Cavs, though, we know, have a pretty decent bench. We saw them look pretty sharp against the Pacers with a lot of bench players in the actual game they had a couple days ago. Halliburton is on the, right now, active roster for this game. However, I'm assuming he's playing a half, and they'll pull him after that. I have to imagine that Halliburton's not going to get the full workload before the actual playoffs start. So I think Indiana might let their guys go for maybe a quarter or two, bench them, and then everyone can go from there. But I'll go with the Cavs to hang in there. We saw them have a nice comeback against the Knicks over the weekend. They were down 23 to the Knicks, and they came back and they won the game on the road. I like how they're playing. I think they definitely showcase good effort most of the time. And I do think Indiana, once they pull everyone, might just give up a ton of points defensively. I'll go off the board. Give me the Cavs money line at plus 155 as my dog. Anyway, now it's time for the underdog entry. To be honest, I have to actually check if there are any underdog options.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything up there.
I'm assuming there might be for the games that matter.
Yeah,
Don't quote me on that, but maybe. So I'm going to have to check. But if you actually go to Underdog, we actually do have stuff. So what would you potentially want? And I'll let you know if they have it.
I would want Zubac PR higher.
Okay. So Zubac PR, just pulling it up right now. Zubac PR for this one, I see that line being set at about... sorry, let me just see what it's at. Is that 30? I don't see it on Underdog, so I can't use that.
Yeah,
sorry.
That's one that I would like. Let's see. What about Draymond RA higher?
Okay, so Draymond RA. Hopefully they actually have it. RA for Draymond, I see 12.5. That is not Underdog either.
Oh wow!
So,
yeah, we might be done with we might can't put an Underdog together. Well, actually, we probably can just tweet it out tomorrow.
Let me actually filter this. I'm on a database. Let me just try to only show Underdog lines, and we'll do it that way. It's probably easier that way. All right, so I see barely any options. I see Draymond PRA. I see A.
Like
I just don't see P. I just don't see RA.
Yeah, I don't like the points.
Okay. Do you want to consider the 5.5 assists or the 6.5 rebounds, or just go
5.5 assists seems good.
Okay, you want the higher on that?
Yeah, I want the higher on that. Yeah.
Okay. So Draymond, we will go with the higher 5.5 assists in that game. Moving on to any other options here. Okay, let me just look at something. Okay, I'll actually go for something random. Give me Dalton Connect. I'll take his 3-pointers at 4.5. I'll go with the higher. Portland's not going to care. The Lakers are sitting everybody, and Connect should play a lot of minutes, so give me Connect higher.
Give me Bronny James points higher.
I doubt we'll get Bronny James lines on that one. Do you want to go for Pritchard in game 82?
I like Pritchard, man. I like Pritchard.
His points are at 24.5.
Oh, Jesus, that's a big number. He
I
might
don't
not
know if
even
it
play.
is. Everyone's sitting.
Yeah, he might not play that much though. I mean, he's a key rotational piece. He might
I
not play
know,
that
but
much.
I think all the starters are sitting that game for Boston. So there is an incentive. You want to go first quarter points? Be really bold, 7.5.
Oh yeah, we can do that. We definitely can do
Cool.
that.
So we'll do that as our 3-pick entry here. So once again, the 3 picks for the very limited slate Underdog. We have Draymond Green higher, 5.5 assists. We have Dalton Connect higher, 4.5 3-pointers, and we have Pritchard higher, 7.5 first quarter points. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for the final regular season episode. Apologies that we were missing a bunch of injury reports and missing a bunch of lines at the time. A reminder, though, back for a bunch of episodes next week for the play-in. We have a bunch of play-in games. We also have the actual series previews that we're going to do. So stay tuned for that. Until next time, I'm on Twitter, Reichel Radio. But I'm on Twitter, XX1TXX. And until then, good luck to all of you and all of your bats. Bye, everyone.